Your mental health is not the problem, and focusing on the symptoms of your mental health is the wrong direction, is the wrong approach to take for intervention. Your current experiences of your mental health, like anxiety, stress, overwhelm, burnout, is a cumulative effect of years and years of a creative process that has been happening for a long period of time in your life. A lot of people, because they're not paying attention or don't have the awareness, think that when it comes to the heightened experience of anxiety and depression, of overwhelm, stress, feel that all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. But that is not true. Your mental health symptoms should never be a target of intervention because they're not the cause. Your mental health symptoms are they're symptoms, and whether it's a diagnosis or a prognosis, whether it's a category or a label that you've been given, that's all it is. It's a collection of symptoms that have been put together and been given a name. It really tells you nothing about what has been going on with you. And essentially what is going on underneath the surface is that there's this disconnect between how you've been living your life and the truth of who you are. This disconnect between how you've been living your life and how you truly desire to live your life. A disconnect between your heart's wants and desires and the expectations of how society perceive you to be, or how your family perceive you to be, or even the expectations of how you perceive yourself to be. And that is not your fault. The expectations that you place upon yourself on a day-to-day basis, and have done for weeks and months and years, have been conditioned into you. And we are all the same when it comes to this conditioning. There is a very good reason why we have been conditioned. There's a very good reason why we have being coded in a certain way. However, what is so important in your adult life to know is that those codes that have been programmed into you and how you should function in life and your relationship with yourself and other people and the world do not serve you any longer as an adult. They had a purpose when you were young. They had a purpose when you had less choice. They had a purpose when you had less capacity to alter your perspectives and your views and take control of what you wanted to create in your life. When we come into adulthood, it's a whole different ballgame. And our job here is to self-improve all the time. But what the majority of people are doing is that they're living on concepts and ideas that they created in the first couple of years of their lives, that they have outgrown. And therefore there's this internal conflict, there's this dissonance between what's going on in their present reality and how they're experiencing life in the way that it feels out of control, in a way that it feels hopeless and helpless and disconnected and empty and full of overwhelm and sadness. So it's really imperative to know that in an adult, in your adult form, you have a choice. Now, I know you don't believe you have a choice, and that's completely normal, because when you were creating all those ideas and concepts and identities about yourself and the world, one of those ideas was that you didn't have a choice. One of those ideas is that you were expected to do and be as your peers wanted, as your parents expected, as your teachers, as the authority figures in your life said that it should be. Then you grew up with this idea that either you're not allowed, or that you can't, or you're not capable, or you must rely on somebody else for validation. And the truth of this is that we did need to depend on other people at some point in time for certain aspects of our growth and development. But we never left that concept, those dynamics behind. We continue to bring them up into adult life, and we continue to live by what other people expect of us, how other people expect us to be. And therefore, what happens is, if we are focused on being and living how others expect of us, that essentially says that there is an absolute denial of living by your own unique greatness, your own heart's desires, your own soul's purpose. And if you think about it, not one individual on this planet is alike, but yet we go out to this world with masks on us, into our circles, into our communities, with our peers and our workplaces and our friendships, trying to be something that everybody else is being, or trying to conform to the expectations of everybody else. And the craziness of that when you think about it, because we just didn't come into this world to join ranks and live on a Ferris wheel and create a situation of Groundhog Day, to go around and live and be and feel the same way day in, day out. We are here for growth and expansion. If you think about it, the physical body from the day that we are born never stops growing. There's something uniquely magical, involved, invisible, powerful, limitless, that you cannot see, that is contributing to your growth and your extension as you move throughout your lifetime. That magical, invisible force is also trying to contribute to your spiritual growth, to your emotional growth, to your personal capacity to serve. But this is what's happening. It's not given the attention, it's not given the acknowledgement, it's not given the awareness. Very few people know that they have the capacity within them to decide the direction of their life. Very few people know that they have the capacity to be in control of their external circumstances. Very few people realize that yes, whatever life is like for them now, that they can absolutely change that around. Because why? Because we are literally a collection of what we've been taught in the first couple of years of our lives. And unless these were the teachings of your younger self, well, then you're unaware, you're oblivious to it. I'm guessing if you're listening to this, there's a part of you that has been wondering, is there more? Is there more to life? What is it? Or even if you're watching this and you feel that your life is chaotic and overwhelmed and full of stress and anxiety, and you wonder, is this going to continue? Does this have to be here for the rest of my life? And you're lost and you're disconnected and you're confused and you're frustrated. That is that part of you that has massive capacity and potential screaming at you to listen to your own abilities and your own part, the part of you that has that capacity and the potential to create a life that you desire. Because there's an internal conflict. We have different aspects of us, and the issue already identified is that you either haven't been taught this, or you find this concept very hard to grasp because it's invisible. It's an invisible force. It's like when you think about the creation of life, what was that invisible force that brought a sperm and a cell egg together and created the most marvelous, miraculous operating system on the whole entire planet? Our physical bodies and our mental capacity. If you ever look into the intrinsics of the workings of the human body, it is mind-blowing what goes on in there. It's mind-blowing, all the trillions of cells working each day to contribute to your survival and thriving without you even having to consider any of it. How you digest, how you detox, how you breathe, how you eliminate everything, how you fight off infection. It is all a miraculous, invisible system that the majority of us haven't stopped to consider. And when you stop to even consider and marvel at that genius that is purely your physical body, It is one tangible aspect that gives you a gateway or a lens into acknowledging and identifying with something far greater within you than you have been educated about, and far greater within you that you have not realized yet. An invisible force that creates that marvelous system that you operate in every day out of two single cells, two different cells that multiplied and multiplied to give you multiple organs working together in a system to allow you to function in the capacity that you do in your physical body and intellectual mind. And the further that you move into your life, and the further that you grow and develop throughout your timeline here, and the more time that you spend in the unacknowledgement of the uniqueness and greatness within you, then the greater that internal conflict becomes, the greater that anxiety and angst and frustration and desperation and detachment and separation from you and the world, the greater you try to hold on to those masks that you go out into your everyday with, and the greater they will crumble when they do crumble, because they must crumble at some point in time, whether it's here or whether it's now.